The Florida Gators have just taken their first step toward going back-to-back Xaivian Lee. You are a Florida Gator.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Happy Thursday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And we'll talk about Gregory Smith III coming back later on, right? What we're talking about right now is that the Florida Gators went out and after losing the best player in the country, Walter Clayton Jr., after losing the best two guard in the country in Elijah Martin, after losing my 3-and-D GOAT, Will Richard, all to the NBA, after losing them all, many people went, well, how is Florida going to go out and replace that? How is Todd Golden going to go out and replace that? And he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into the transfer portal. I'm going to look at the best guard available. Actually, screw it. I'm going to look at the best guard, whether he's available or not. And I'm going to go make him a Florida Gator. And that's what he did. Xavian Lee is a Florida Gator from Princeton. A huge addition, right? Like, this is something that we've talked about for the past week-ish. That what was it? It was Monday, the Florida Gators won the national championship. Tuesday's show, we celebrated the Florida Gators winning the national championship. And then I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, we talked about, hey, Florida's losing a lot. What can they do here? What's the next thing to do? What's the next thing to look at? How do you do that? Xavian Lee was the first name I brought up. We talked about Xavian Lee 4 times in the past week. Why? Because he's damn good at basketball. So like there's no other way to say he's just damn good at basketball. He is someone that the Florida Gators have now coming in and will step in right away as one of the starting guards. And this is the thing that I feel like a lot of people keep talking about whenever we talk about Xavian Lee and replacing Walter Clayton Jr., which you're not going to be able to do. But just this is the thing that we've talked about a lot, where you can't replace Walter Clayton Jr. with any one individual, right? Walter Clayton Jr. was the best guard in the country this past season. And I don't think anybody can honestly debate you with it or honestly disagree with you about it, right? Like, I don't think anybody's going to do that. If they are, they're probably not operating in good faith, because that sounds a little bit foolish to try to do, if we're being honest. And so I think it's a little silly to try to do. So I don't think that anybody's going to really do that. But what you can do is do your best to try and replace him. You're going to, replace him in the aggregate, Moneyball style. That's the thing that I've been trying to talk to people about, is that you can't replace Walter Clayton Jr. with one guard. It's not possible. He was the best guard in the country. Xavian Lee was in the country this year, right? Xavian Lee and Walter Clayton Jr. were contemporaries in college basketball. And Walter Clayton Jr. was better. You can't replace what Walter Clayton Jr. brings to the table, because nobody in the country could do what he did, including Cooper Flagg, who Cooper Flagg, Janai Broome, Walter Clayton Jr. are the 3 guys that people talk about as the best player in the country, right? None of them can do what Walter Clayton Jr. can do. And Walter Clayton Jr. can't do everything Cooper Flagg can do, right? But what I'm saying with that is just there's nobody that can replace what Walter Clayton Jr. did. What you can do is find guys that can replace him in different ways, or find guys that can replace that production in different ways. That's what we're talking about when we say replace him in the aggregate. It's Moneyball. How can we replace Jason Giambi? Well, we can't get another Jason Giambi, so we're going to replace him in the aggregate. That's it. How do we replace whatever 20 points per game? We replace it in the aggregate. We don't need it from one guy. We need it in the aggregate. And so you have Denzel Aberdeen and Xaivian Lee in there. I think that Xaivian Lee is a better distributor and facilitator of the offense than Walter Clayton Jr. was this year. I think he's a more consistent defender than Walter Clayton Jr. this year. That doesn't mean he's better. That just means that he's more consistent. When we saw Walter Clayton Jr. turn it on in the tournament, he was playing lights out defense. And it's never been about him being a bad defender. It's about him being a disengaged defender, which is maybe more frustrating than being a bad one. If you're bad, you're bad. If you're not trying, that's annoying. But Xavian Lee, not nearly as good a scorer as Walter Clayton Jr. No one is. No one creates shots for themselves the way that Walter Clayton Jr. does. But Xavian Lee shot 37% from three, 79% from the free throw line. Pretty good numbers, right? He had one of the highest assist rates in college basketball, dribble drive expert. And that's what we talk about, where Xavian Lee's not going to replace that scoring that Walter Clayton Jr. did. But what Xavian Lee is going to do is that Xavian Lee is going to penetrate the paint, great finisher around the rim. He's going to penetrate the paint, and he's going to be able to kick out to a teammate, whether that's Denzel Aberdeen, whether that's Alex Condon. It's not going to be Ruben Chinyelu, whether that's Thomas Houck, whoever it may be. Xavian Lee is going to be able to dribble, drive, penetrate, and kick out. When we talk about bringing in guys like this team's going to play a little bit different in 2025 than they did this past season. Okay. I just want to get that out of the way. Not that they're going to be worse. I think that they're going to be a very good team. They're just going to be different, right? Because with Walter Clayton Jr. running the show, you had a just bucket getter. That's a pure bucket getter. Anyone you talk to, they're going to tell you he's a bucket getter. I don't care about the pros or cons. He's a bucket getter. Everybody's going to admit that. And if they don't admit that, stop talking with that person, because you are talking to a clown and you don't have conversations with clowns. Okay. So stop talking to that person. If they think Walter Clayton Jr. is not a bucket getter. But what Xavian Lee is going to do is get to the bucket, get to the basket, get to the hoop, whatever the hell you want to call it. And he's going to either score there, get to the free throw line. He did have one of the highest foul draw rates in the country. So get to the free throw line. And if he's not getting fouled, or if there's legit paint defense, kick out to a teammate, right? If Ruben Chinyelu adds just like a midi jumper to his game, and we're talking about Xavian Lee gets in there, center crashes down, you kick it out to the baseline or to the elbow, whatever it may be, and Chinyelu hits a jumper, that'd be huge, right? Like that'd be massive for Florida. But this is still going to be a team that is built around, we're going to get to the paint, we want to get around the rim twos or catch and shoot threes. Those are the shots that we want. That's the analytically oriented stuff that's not going to change. Todd Golden's still going to do that. Now they're just going to do it in a different way, I think. I think that it's not going to be about, oh, well, we do this better or that better. It's just we do things a little bit differently because of our personnel. And that's not a bad thing. You can still get the same points per game. You could still get so much of the same production you got. I do think that this lineup has decent defensive potential, but I also think that this lineup doesn't really have their starting five yet. Alex Condon has declared for the NBA draft. Expected. I expect him to come back. That's been a thing. Thomas Houck hasn't declared. I expect him to declare, test the waters, and then come back. That's my expectation there. I think that you'll have Xavian Lee, Denzel Aberdeen, Alex Condon, Ruben Chinyelu, and a portal wing starting with Thomas Houck as your sixth man. I said this yesterday. It's not a knock on Houck at all, okay? Thomas Houck's a top 3 player on this team. Okay? Thomas Houck's the top 3 player on this team. But his role just might be better suited to bench 4. I would rather have him as a bench 4 than a starting 3 because I think he'd be better as a 4 than a 3. Minutes-wise, play him starter minutes. I don't care. Have Thomas Houck as 6th man, right? Start your game. Do whatever you're doing to start the game. Have Condon move to the center. Have Thomas Houck move to power forward. Then you give Condon a break. Keep Thomas Houck at power forward. Bring in Micah Handlockton as your center. Or bring Chinyelu back on the court. Whatever it may be. I still think there's a very good way to go about this. Thomas Houck made a huge impact this year while being a bench player, while being the sixth man, the America's sixth man, right? He did all that. So I don't think it's a knock on him. Dorian Finney-Smith, I said this last night as well. Dorian Finney-Smith, sixth man of the year when he was here, right? Elite sixth man when he was here. The only guy from those teams still in the NBA. That's it. It's him. He's the only one. So when I look at, being the sixth man, it's not a knock like I think a lot of people look at it. It's really not. And I think that we're talking about Thomas Houck as a late first, early second round pick while being a sixth man. So there's plenty of respect there. Minutes, it's there. It's got nothing to do with him being the sixth man at all. I think he's better for a 4. He could play NBA 4-5 spot. Like he could do both of those things. So I don't think that that's any concern for anybody. But again, I just don't think he's the wing that Todd Golden wants. Not a knock, but I don't think he's the wing Todd Golden wants. We'll talk about the wing Todd Golden might want when we get back with Locked On Gators. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or even if you need a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com, UPWORK.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, whether it's in the podcast and on YouTube. We're talking about this wing spot that's still open, the small forward spot for Florida that's still open. And which, by the way, a couple notes here. One, I think that when I talk about Thomas Houck not being the fit for it, I understand you can do things differently. I think that Todd Golden wants a wing that's a 3-and-D guy. That's like 6'4" to 6'6"-ish. 3-and-D. Can ball handle a little bit, create his own shot a little bit, run in transition. That last one is one of the main reasons that I don't look at Thomas Houck as the answer at wing. Because he's not going to be running in transition like that. He's going to be hammering the boards. So that's why I don't really look at Thomas Houck there. 2, I suggested this the other day or last week maybe, and quite a few people got upset with me, but it wouldn't exactly shock me if for Florida we saw like a Denzel Aberdeen take on that wing role. I think that Xaivian Lee will be the primary ball handler for this team this year, right? Denzel Aberdeen, good shooter, right? Doesn't shoot frequently, but pretty decent shooter, right? So Denzel Aberdeen there shot 35% from 3 this year, which I do think that when you consider he shot 35% last year, and then we saw an increase in sample size, and that's actually more impressive than just, oh yeah, he remained consistent. I think this is better because of a larger sample size. So he had the 35% from 3 this year on a large sample size. Great. He is a decent ball handler. Or actually, I'll say this. He's a very good ball handler. I don't think he's a great facilitator of the offense. Like he gets assists here and there, but I think that he's more of a guy where he's going to dribble, create his own shot. And that's going to be his priority. That's going to be his main focus. Maybe with a larger role, we'll see him create his own shot and then start kicking out. But we don't know that from him yet, right? I think he's a great defender. We've seen him run in transition and work in transition. Like, I don't think it's far-fetched to say Denzel Aberdeen might be that Will Richard replacement. Like that he can do it. I'm not saying that he's going to. I'm not saying he's not good enough to be more of a ball-dominant guard. Again, I think that he's going to get his touches regardless. I'm just saying that I think that that's a possibility. I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's going to happen, but it is a possibility. And I mentioned that as a possibility because Florida in the transfer portal is looking at guys like Bryce Lindsey from James Madison. And Bryce Lindsey from James Madison is 6'3". Denzel Aberdeen 6'5". Xaivian Lee is 6'4". Like Florida has looked at guys that are smaller than Aberdeen. And so then when we talk about who might be on the wing, it might be Denzel. And again, that's not a knock at all. I'd be happy with him there. I think he's still going to get his touches, still going to be a good fit. Florida has looked at Cedric Coward from Washington State as an elite wing player that if he's like, if I get one portal edition, if I get to pick one more player from the portal for Florida to get, it's Cedric Coward. It's the guy who released his top 5, and it's Florida, Duke, Kansas, Alabama, and Washington. An elite top 4 plus Washington, right? Cedric Coward is testing the NBA draft waters similar to Alex Condon. And if Cedric Coward doesn't like the grade he gets and decides, hey, I am going to come back to college for one more year, then that's going to be his commitment. Like, he's in the portal right now. We don't know where he's going to play ball at all next year. But if he decides to come back to college, that's basically what his commitment is going to be. Is if I come back to college, this is the school I'm playing for. And Florida's in that top 5. And if you can get him, I think that'd be huge. I think he's a great ball player. So looking at Cedric Coward, another guy that's testing the NBA and might go to college, Ben Henshall. And I say might go to college, not might go back to college, because Ben Henshall, an Australian player from the BA Center of Excellence, where Alex Condon came from. And Ben Henshall is testing NBA waters. He's projected as a second-round pick right now. Significance there is that if he comes to college at all, Florida is viewed as a public favorite because of that Alex Condon connection. Whether or not Alex Condon is here, I really don't think that matters. Because I think that Ben Henshall, who knows Alex Condon, they were teammates, and Ben Henshall has been playing in the NDL, which is Australia's professional league. Casey Prather is playing in there right now. If Ben Henshall decides to come to college, even if Alex Condon's not in Florida, I'm assuming that he's going to speak, Henshall and Condon are going to speak together. And I could imagine that Alex Condon would have some pretty positive things to say about Gainesville and Todd Golden. And I think that those two things will be pretty strong selling points if Ben Henshall goes to college. Like if Ben Henshall decides to go to college, I view him as a Florida Gators lean. Like that's how I look at him. I look at him as the Florida Gators lean right now. Hopefully going to stay in Gainesville if he does go. Bryce Lindsey, A.J. Brown's another player that we've talked about. Bryce Lindsey's from James Madison. Very good three-point shooter, shot 41% from 3, has the volume, shot over 200 threes, is pretty much a 3-and-D player, right? I don't want to say he's a tremendous defender. I'm not going to say that. But I will say, he's a spot-up shooter, we'll say. That's what he is offensively. Spot-up shooter, great free throw shooter. Doesn't turn the ball over when he does dribble or do anything like that, or ball handling anyway. Effective field goal percentage of 59.3%. Great. That was 102nd in the country. All right, again, shot 41% from 3 this past year. That's incredible. That's a great number to have, right? So that's great. You've got Jameer Watkins is another name that Florida is reportedly connected to, formerly from VCU and then Florida State. A 6'7" wing, so I think that wing, 32% three-point shooter, which is similar to what Thomas Houck shot for most of the year, got hot toward the end and increased his percentage. We talked about last week, A.J. Brown from Ohio. His younger brother is Isaiah Brown, who was a freshman this past year. And also, I will say, maybe Isaiah Brown's a guy that steps up. Like maybe Isaiah Brown is one of the people that we look at as stepping into a much larger role. Didn't play much this year, and I'm going to be honest, wasn't awesome this year. He shot decently from 3 in a very, very, very small sample size. Shot 3 for 8. Free throws were horrendous. Shot 44% from the free throw line. Not good. But when we talk about replacing the talent in the aggregate, like that's what we're talking about. I think that the Florida Gators have many paths to getting there. I think that when we talk about this team coming up in 2025-2026 season, we're talking about a team that is going to maybe be less explosive offensively, which could mean more consistent offensively, less explosive offensively. And I think that they'll be a better, more consistent defensive team than they were this past year. Like, we're talking about a team that the expectation should still be repeat. And at this point, with Todd Golden, the expectation every year should be compete for a national championship. We are going to flip to football to wrap up today's show as Gregory Smith is back for the Florida Gators in just a second with Locked On Gators. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get on the action. If you bet Tyler Herro to have, damn near 40 points, he had 38 in the play-in game, congratulations, you made yourself some money. Right now, when you join FanDuel, place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That's FanDuel.com. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free. We listen to the podcast and on YouTube. To wrap up today's show, we're flipping to football, who, by the way, also high expectations for him this year. But we're flipping to football because last week, I think it was a week ago today, if I'm not mistaken, Gregory Smith III, safety who just finished his redshirt freshman season, entered the transfer portal. Okay? He entered the transfer portal, and what we said on Locked On Gators and what we talked about multiple times with the insider program and everything was this was not a case of, hey, those freshmen took his job. Those freshmen, someone's scared of competition. Those freshmen pushing them out. This was none of that, okay? And I've said this so many times. I cannot stand that every time a player enters the portal, it's, those freshmen. That's not the case, right? I said it with the insider program. If you want to join it, the link's in the description below. Or if you just want to go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGators, you can do that. First 2 weeks are free, $5 a month after that. You're going to get on average like 3 messages a day, which is going to vary. Like some days you won't hear from me at all. Some days you're going to get 10. It's fine. But when we talked about this with Greg Smith, this was not a matter of the freshman are taking his job, right? Hilton Stubbs needs time, right? That's not a knock on him. I think he's going to be a tremendous talent, but he needs time. Lagonza Hayward, very impressive in camp, right? They're loving what he does in camp. But if you watch the spring game, he was playing mostly star because Aaron Gates is going to miss some time. So we're talking about, these freshmen. Hilton Stubbs isn't beating Greg Smith III. And Lagonza Hayward's playing star, which Greg Smith did play a little bit of during spring. This was more of an NIL thing than anything else. And that's that. They got it figured out, right? We were told, I think it was On3 reported that on Tuesday, Greg Smith III was going to meet with Billy Napier to discuss maybe coming back. Because that was the thing, too. Greg Smith III entered the portal, and like the next day, we were told, hey, Greg Smith III is open to coming back. Simple as that. He essentially just went, hey, if you're not going to meet me where I want to be met, then I'm going to go to the portal, and I'll see if I can get what I get. We thought Miami was going to be a quick spot. I had a bunch of people, because I've been very open. I love Greg Smith III. I think he's going to be a fantastic football player, whether he's at Florida or not. I think that when I think of high ceiling players, and when I think of people that I can buy in on and believe that they will reach that ceiling, I think of Greg Smith III. That's one of the reasons I love him so much, right? I had so many Miami fans tweeting at me, quote tweeting things I've said about Greg Smith in my YouTube comments, in my Twitter DMs, talking about don't turn back on him now once he's a Miami Hurricane. He didn't do none of that, you dumbass. He's still a Florida Gator because he's back. Met with Billy Napier on Tuesday to discuss coming back, and reports came out yesterday that he was returning, which huge. I don't think we've gotten confirmation from him yet, but we have gotten multiple reports now that he's going to be coming back. That is huge for depth at the minimum, right? Like, I know there's people who aren't huge fans of Jordan Castell, and people who went, okay, well, not a huge fan of Jordan Castell. Let's have Greg Smith replace him. Maybe. I'm not going to say yes or no to that. I want the best player to play. If Greg earns it, then Greg earns it. But this is at the very least huge for depth. I've said this before. The game, I liked Greg Smith coming out of high school, right? You can go back to when he was getting recruited by Florida and then when he committed to Florida. I was a big fan of what Greg Smith showed on film in high school and what he can become. Because he was just a great athlete, a raw athlete. I spoke with a recruit from that class that was a higher rated recruit than Greg Smith, but wasn't from the state of Florida. And I spoke with that recruit, and that recruit told me outright, Florida said that they're swinging on a project. They want it to be an in-state kid. That's what he said. Like, he was like, hey, we're both projects, but they told me if they're swinging on a project, it's going to be an in-state kid. And it was Greg Smith. Like, that's what it was. So this is the project that they're swinging on at safety. The thing that made me truly, truly, truly believe what he can be. Last year, the spring game, he balled out. But again, I don't put too much stock in the spring game. The Florida State game, I keep going back to there was a sequence where, first off, he like threw someone to the ground, which was just funny. Just funny. But also, he got beat by a chair route, right? Chair route is you go up, you go out, you go up. He got beat on a chair route in that game. They tried to run the chair route toward him again, and he was all over it. And in-game adjustments like that of, I saw this, I got beat by this, and then stopping it. Like to do that in-game in your true freshman season is huge. I don't know if he's going to be a starter. I don't. And if I had to guess, he's not. Because I feel like Florida, Billy Napier has typically gone, hey, if you're a returning starter, you're probably going to start again. I'm not going to get into all that. But I will say that at the very minimum, I expect Greg Smith III to be a significant contributor to this team. The third safety. I don't care who's starting where. It's going to be Greg Smith III, Jordan Castell, and Bryce Thornton as your three starting safeties, or as your three most significant playing safeties. That's it. I love Greg Smith's skill set. I love his potential. I think he's going to be really, really good. I think he's shown, hey, he can do this football thing. He can. You may not see it all the time, but he can do this football thing. I think that's huge for the Florida Gators. I love getting him back. Also, this gets the Florida Gators to 85 scholarships. I'm recording this late Wednesday night. They are at 85 scholarships. Unless a scholarship player enters the portal, the Florida Gators are at 85 scholarships. They're then allowed to have 20 walk-ons at that point. Figuring out the rest is different, but as far as, being active in the portal, might have to have some difficult conversations and push out some bottom of the roster guys. Or, I don't know, maybe pay someone that more as a walk-on. I don't know what it would be, but scholarship limit, the math, it's not like a salary cap where it's like, oh yeah, we'll just kick it down the road somewhere. Nope. This is, you got a hard limit. Figure it out. Going to be really interesting for how they do that, but Florida Gators seem to be at their 85 scholarship limit. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, whether it's in the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow, talk more Florida Gators. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I will see you all next time.